Al-Ghazali born in Tus, in province of Khorasan, in Iran, in 1058. One of Al-Ghazali nickname is the Prof of Islam. He was appointed professor of theology at University of Baghdad at the tender age of 33, but for the 5 years he was gripped in spiritual crisis, trying to find a rational foundation for Islamic basic principle as outlined in the Quran. He finally concluded that there was no rational way to refute skeptical doubt, but that there was another way to discover truth, one hint by the Prophet Muhammad and the sagas within the Sufi tradition. Armed with this new insight, Al-Ghazali left Baghdad and all his material profession. He went to Syria to live with Sufi monks and to adopt a lifestyle that was solely based on discovering the real truth about the self and the one creation to God. Then he went on the pilgrimage to Mecca, where he became confident that he had been appointed to be the next great reformer of faith. This would prove the key secret to happiness and one that will satisfy the very purpose for which man is created. Otherwise, Jalaluddin Rumi. Rumi was born in 1207 in Balkh, in present-day Afghanistan. Increasing Mongol incursion forced his family move from Afghanistan to Turkey. Rumi was the son of the renowned Sufi scholar, and it's more than likely that he was introduced to Sufism from a young age. Both he and his father were firm believers in the revelation of the Quran. By the time of his father's death, he had become an outstanding scholar in his own right, and took over his father's position as one of the highest scholars in the country, and at the young age of 24. He spent his time to teaching and giving lectures to the public. Sufism of Rumi also influenced by his best friend we call it Shah. Shah is traveling Sufi.
For Al-Ghazali, he pointed out that he found in Sufism the answer to his intellectual and spiritual quest because the mystic way combined knowledge and practice together, not in other fields such as philosophy and kalam, which is Muslim theology, which merely entails the theoretical aspects of knowledge. In his semi-autobiographical work, Al-Munqidh min al-Dalal, which is the deliverance from error, Al-Ghazali personally confessed that the intellectual belief was easier to me than the practical activity. Al-Ghazali was absolutely convinced that Islam could be saved only through moral perfection, and that could be attained only through the Sufi path, which was not dependent upon an authority derived from others, nor upon knowledge obtained by study, but which had developed through absolute love and service to Allah. Okay, next, we move to the view of Jalaluddin Rumi towards Sufism. Sufism is patience in calamities and patience in trying. Give up worldly attachments, say no to everything except Him, disconnect all interests, love to understand the moments. Finally, recognizing Allah and connect with Him. In Sufism of Rumi, Sufi path is the path of love. Sufi left knowledge and the intellectual sciences, because reason does not understand it. Rumi believes if Sufi praises Lord lovely and with heart, God will make this mansion to bird of paradise, and like Moses, Sinai mountain will dance with the light of his beauty, and Sufi became perfect and heart can escape from defects, reach to Allah, and with Him being one for everybody, it is achievable. So basically, we have two main principles of Al-Ghazali, which is the model of good deeds in inner dimension and outer dimension. Al-Ghazali found that the spiritual practices is very important for every human to produce their good deeds. So this principle was able experienced, practically practiced, and every harmonies as well as balance to those dimensions. Good deeds can be divided into two dimensions, which is two spiritual practices of Imam Al-Ghazali. Okay, the first one for theoretical spiritual practices is about knowledge, and the second one is about action. The theoretical of the spiritual practices for inner knowledge is about how Al-Ghazali seek all the knowledge to share and teach his knowledge to everyone. He's doing a good deed because only for God's blessing from Allah without thinking the return back from humans. Second, for practical spiritual, which is the action, practical in inner action in amal batinya. Practical aspect in curtain inner such as sincerity, humbleness, and many other. It depends in our inner precondition, which is the spiritual quality is about human by satisfying the heart, mind, and soul. The quality of every spiritual that we doing is depend on how we satisfy in our action.
Rumi is known as a great Sufi. Rumi is also the founder of the order Maulawiyah or Jalaliyah. The orders he developed with his friend Sheikh Hassan bin Muhammad Hisamuddin. Maulawiyah order or Jalaliyah is a famous Sufi orders in many held in Turkey and Syria. In the West, the order is known as the Reeling Dervishes. According to narration, a dance performed by Rumi is involuntarily. The dance was actually doing when he was saddened after the death of his teacher, Shams of Tabriz. Rumi really felt the loss of a role model, like life without the sun. Until one day, a blacksmith named Jalaluddin made Rumi dance around in circle while chanting poems poetic love for God and his teacher. Until his death, December 17, 1273, Rumi never stopped dancing and he never stopped loving him. From this way, he discovered the nature of love to God. City of Konya, who had desert, became again with lively dance of love that spin to God. In fact, many of his followers in various countries around the world doing the same thing as the love of the teacher in finding God. And then, the practice of ritualized zikr among Rumi Sufi followers of Mevlevi order is known as sema. This includes recitation, singing, instrumental music, dance, meditation, and trance. The purpose of the sema is to restore one's original purity or fitrah by way of a spiritual awakening.
Al-Ghazali, during his life, he wrote over 70 books on science, Islamic reasoning, and Sufism. His famous book is Ihya Ulumuddin, which means the revival of religious science. This book covers all fields of Islamic science, philosophy, and Sufism, and it had numerous positive reactions from people around and other scholars. He also contributed a lot in spreading Sufism and Sharia. He was the first to combine the ideas of Sufism into Sharia laws and the first to give a formal description of Sufism in his books. He succeeded in gaining widespread acceptance for Sufism. However, he did so at the expense of the philosophers. And for Jalaluddin Rumi, as we know that he is a famous poet, he was using his poetry to express his love to Allah, and it is believed that Rumi will turn round and round while reciting his poetry, and it is this dance which formed the basis for the whirling dervishes for Sufi dance. Rumi's major works can consist of two epic poems. The first is the Divani Samshi Tabrizi, named in honor of his friend, which is Shams, and the other one is the Matnawi. Love is overwhelming part of Rumi's work, but for Rumi, this love was a higher love for God and not for humans. In addition to his poetry, Rumi's commentaries on various aspects of Sufism were also written down, and this consists of transcriptions of his lectures and sermons along with some 145 letters that he wrote.